Let's bring in conservative strategist Jamie Ellerton joining us from Toronto. Jamie, what do you think about this alleged foreign interference story?
Todd, I think this is a political hatchet job designed to essentially attack Pierre Poilievre in the midst of an election. When you read the Globe and Mail story today, there is essentially no new revelations there. It quotes Justice Hogue, who of course led the commission, saying that Pierre Poilievre and his inner circle had no clue about this was. It also shows that CSIS's own sources in this story say that they had no direct knowledge of what was happening here. We know that CSIS has briefed parliamentarians like Michael Chong when they were the direct target of espionage activities. And the Michael Chong case, of course, was relating to the Chinese Communist Party. So dropping this in the middle of an election, to me, suggests someone with a highly political motivation is looking to torque the coverage, and has very little to do with Canada's actual national security.
Right. So you're saying there really is no there.
So we know that foreign interference is a huge problem in Canada. It's something that has affected all parties. But when we look at our institutions and what they've had to say under oath on the record, and even as sources quoted in this Globe and Mail story, they all say that Pierre Poilievre did not know this. I ran the campaign for one of his rivals in that leadership race, Scott Aitchison, the MP for Parry Sound, Muskoka. And when you look back at the integrity of the Conservative race, nobody could make a donation or buy a membership in that race that didn't have a traceable payment method attached to that. When you contrast that with the Liberal leadership race, anyone who showed up on the website, submitted an email address, was on the Liberal leadership voter rolls. Like, if you want to compare apples to apples here, if anyone wants to sow doubt in the outcome and of results, I think it's the Liberals that have more questions to answer for here. So when you put this all into context, and the fact that this is dropping in the first week of a national election campaign, this is nothing more than a political hatchet job.
What do you make of how things have unfolded so far? We're only 2.5 days in, and as you know, there's more than a month to go.
Yeah, there's a long way to go. I think when you look at what Pierre Poilievre has started the campaign on, he clearly wants to focus the conversation on affordability. He announced a very significant broad-based income tax cut yesterday that would put real money back into people's pockets. He talked about housing today and taking the GST off it. You know, I work for the Residential and Civil Construction Alliance of Ontario here in this province, and they released a report almost 2 years ago now that showed over 1/3 of the cost of a new home is taxes between all levels of government, and it's a huge problem driving part of the affordability crisis is the housing crisis. So the taking of the GST off for homes, I think it's $1.3 million and below, that's real savings that'll make it easier for people to afford and will hopefully also help spur construction supply to increase the supply of housing.
Here's a theoretical one, or hypothetical if you prefer. How concerned or not are you about Donald Trump saying or doing things during this election campaign that could affect the outcome?
Donald Trump is essentially the elephant in every room that's happening and talking about this campaign, Todd. I think it remains to be seen what, if anything, the president's going to do to insert himself throughout the course of this campaign. I think Canadians are rightfully concerned as to what the impact of these tariffs are going to be on our economy. Of course, we're a little over a week away from the next deadline. We'll see if Donald Trump holds through on it. For all his talk of tariffs so far, he continues to punt on most of them. And so I think Canadians are going to look for a plan. I think part of what you're seeing from the Conservative strategy so far is talking about things Canada can actually control, and those are things that governments can actually do to make life more affordable and to help clean up our mess here at home. I think for the 20+ years, Todd, I've been working in politics, I've never seen so many average people tuned into politics and concerned about the future of the country, and I think that bodes well for civic engagement and turnout in this campaign.
We started off talking about foreign interference. Is a U.S. president weighing in on Canadian elections in the middle of them not a form of foreign interference?
Textbook definition, I think that most definitely is a form of foreign interference. I think when people talk about foreign interference, you tend to think of regimes further afield and known adversaries to Canada, like the Chinese Communist Party and Russia. But of course, this comes in many ways, shapes, and forms. We know that there are Indian agents that are engaged in this. Of course, let's not forget there were serious allegations made that agents acting on behalf of the Indian government killed a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil just a short, what was it, 18 months, 2 years ago. So this is something that's like very serious to concern. But I think when you look at the president tweeting and the like, I don't think people think of that as quite the exact same way of foreign interference. But make no mistake, Donald Trump is the elephant in the room and present at every aspect of the conversation in this campaign for Canadians.
Hey, we'll talk again soon. Thanks for this, my friend.
Anytime, Todd.
Conservative strategist Jamie Ellerton in Toronto.